Welcome to the Founderville.vc podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about startups and entrepreneurship. We bring in founders and leaders inside of the entrepreneurial community and really just anybody that supports entrepreneurship. My name's Shay Hauser. I'm here with my partner in crime, Scott Millwood.
About crimes.
Not crimes.
No crimes.
No crimes here. And super fired up today to have a friend of the podcast, investor in Founderville.vc, Mr. Jim Wanner. Jim is the founder and CEO of Keymark. This is an AI-first leading document processing, OCR. I'm not going to get all the other terms. Okay. Company that he's built over the last 3 decades, and we're excited to have you here. Thanks for coming out.
Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
Yeah.
So since I butchered what Keymark is, why don't you tell the audience what Keymark is?
Well, in today's world, we're basically an AI company. I know it sounds kind of funny, but we were doing this before there was any cool things associated with AI. So the world's caught up to us, and the way you got to look at it is we're a process automation organization that uses AI to drive it. And the bottom line is we're the guys behind the scenes that make everybody else better. And it's lovely. It's good timing for us.
So are you guys, are you leveraging all the known sort of AI tools out there to help create efficiencies inside of the customer?
When you say all the known tools, it's an interesting perspective. So if you would have said 3 years ago who is doing true document processing, and if you ask anybody in our whole company, we would say there's probably 5, maybe 6 different companies. And now there's an organization that's tracking this, and they came up with 412 different organizations.
Oh my gosh.
So in 3 years, this whole market has shifted exponentially. Most of these people don't know what they're doing to the level of proficiency that's needed for production environment, because these are mission critical applications. If it's in life sciences, obviously you're talking life and death, or those types of things. And if it's mission critical because you happen to be running the core business of an organization and they're trying to implement these systems out there and they don't really know how to do it correctly. So to say, to go back and say, are you doing all of it? You can't do all of it because you can't do 412 different systems. The only person I ever met that had to manage more than that was the CIO of Pepsi. And he told me, I think he had 455. So
that's insane.
It's a massive number. And I looked at him and I said, how many of those vendors do you really know? And he goes, about 3.
Yeah,
so,
the 3 that really matter.
Correct.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's super interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, we understand our niche. We understand our position in the marketplace. And I think that that's kind of the key, because when you go back in 2001, before anybody even knew what this stuff was, we saw a demo that crashed 3 times. And from there, we realized we could process invoices. And we realized that nowadays people think of these things and they use these terms and they throw them out like this is standard stuff. But back in the day, people didn't know what a human in the loop was.
Yeah.
And the reason we were the first to successfully deploy invoice processing wasn't because we were smarter. We just always assumed that you had to have a person review something before you uploaded to an enterprise resource planning or ERP system. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason we were successful before anybody else. Yeah.
So going back to sort of the beginning, obviously you weren't using AI 3 decades ago. How did this whole thing start? How did you get to Keymark? I really don't know the background prior to Keymark and what you did, but how did you get there?
So back in the day, we were a marketing firm, and the organizations that we actually did marketing for were CVS Pharmacy. Before they came down here, was probably our largest, most consistent cash flow company. And from there, we leveraged it out into technology and the organizations that we work with. The one was a software company. You guys might remember Rick Ruth from a company called Genesis, and he built an expert system. In fact, I think he was, when you were at DataStream, he was in the Maryvent Center over there, if I remember correctly. So we worked closely with him, and he kind of got us involved in what's now known as rules engines, which is the core of artificial intelligence. And then along the way, we worked closely with an organization called InnovaNet, if you guys probably remember those guys. So we were the marketing guys behind them, and Jim Oswald, we helped that guy go from, just with our marketing program, from about 5 signups a day to 60 to 70. Wow. So what I did is I literally went around and we signed up all the radio stations, all the TV stations. We gave them one free, you laugh now, a website and then free email. And for that, they would spout, if you remember Word 1330, Russ Castle back in the day.
Sure.
Wow. Oh, Russ loved it. And he would talk about InnovaNet every hour, because he was 6 to 9. So their amount of people that they signed up went from 5 to 60 or 65 just from using some kind of and leveraging free marketing for all intents and purposes. Yeah. And then we got involved with an OCR company down in Tampa, Florida, called Microsystems Technologies, and they changed their name to AnyDoc. But the gist of it is that was such an innovative platform, and it provided such a compelling return on investment for everybody that we worked with. And we closed one large deal called Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Georgia. And we're sitting down there in Buckhead, and Coopers and Lybrand. There was a guy who goes, Jim, I just want to thank you for a $4.2 million system. I looked down on our spreadsheet. We were $256,000. I realized there might be a little bit more money on the other side of the equation that we're justifying. So that got us involved in workflow, document management, and all those types of things. And that's kind of how we evolved.
Was that a pivot to some
Huge
degree?
pivot.
I mean, at that point, was it like, I'm going to completely change directions now? The marketing's great and fine, and I can build a good business, but there's something over here.
There was a number of compelling items that happened. First of all, we were a reseller, a sub-dealer for a company up in Indianapolis. And I know a lot of people in startups, they think, is it cheaper just to start out under somebody at first? And it's not a bad idea because then you get to test the market.
No.
And we did that. We tested the market. We realized in total we had about $1.3 million in deals that were on the table between 3 opportunities. We only closed one of them. But it's interesting now that I think about it. The one deal that we didn't get up in Richmond, Virginia, that created a whole nother company that competed against us downstream. So I should have put my foot down and really dug into that. But that guy was smarter than me. He bought a first-class ticket with a decision maker going from Richmond basically to L.A. and he convinced the guy to
Right.
Oh, it's a funny sales pitch, right?
Right.
So creative. But from there, we basically we separated because the president of the company used me as a consultant, how to do things. Then he was upset he didn't want to pay me. Listen to everybody out there. Make sure you have it in writing. You're going to get paid because people will renege on you when you're small and they can beat you up. And he called me up on a Sunday, said he was going to not pay us. I said, my son was sleeping on my chest. I said, you'll have my termination letter within 15 minutes. Well, back in the day, you had to unplug the phone, plug the fax
machine in.
Yeah, exactly. And by the time you did all that, it took me about 20 minutes. I was pretty close to the 15 number to terminate with those guys. We signed up with a company out of Tampa, Florida, and we were off and running. And then our first deal, you said the big pivot, we actually closed the Department of Revenue of South Carolina, and we beat IBM and Unisys.
Jeez.
And we only had 3 people.
Holy cow.
Now, I bring that up because when you think of founders would walk into something and they'd see competition. And back in the day, you guys know it better than I do, IBM was the company.
That was it.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're probably all wearing blue today because
it's subconscious.
Right, exactly, because of them. And to be able to beat those guys with just 3 people, I hope that gives people out there some enthusiasm to reach for the stars instead of just looking at a situation and saying, I'm going against these big guys, I can't beat them. I don't think that's always the case. Yeah. I think if you have better technology, you have a better return on investment, and you have a more compelling case, there are people that are going to work with you and help you build your business. Yeah. And from there, we realized we could fund the entire company. You guys will laugh, but our whole expenses for 3 people in office and travel and everything was $10,000 a month. So
pretty good.
That's pretty low. Pretty low burn.
Right.
That's right.
So that's pretty low burn rate. I've seen some of the ones we haven't found.
That's right.
Might be a little bit higher than that.
A
little higher than that.
For sure.
So we then closed. After that, we closed Daytimers, which probably most of the people here.
I used one.
Yeah. Exactly, but I'm guessing most of the founders are younger than they probably have no idea what that is. And Farm Bureau Insurance Company of Indiana. So after that, we figured out something that everybody knows now: subscription licensing. Mm-hmm. So we were able to understand. I built these complex spreadsheets, and we were able to show that we could run the company for at least 14 months. And after that, we were off and running.
That's great. That answers one question. So, yes, I mean, essentially there was never an idea of I'm going to go raise capital. I need to raise capital. You guys got to cash flow so quickly through those big wins that you were able to finance the company that way.
The only funding that we had to put in place was actually a benefit for us. We did work with a local bank, and I think one of the bankers is still in business, and the other guy that we worked with I think is a state legislature out of Spartanburg. But we had to put together a business plan, which there's a couple things that I learned in college. One of them was mascotting The other was building a business plan. Beer chugging was probably the
Yeah,
third.
I'm sure you did. Right.
And then we basically put together a business plan, and we had to go in front of them. And at the time, you don't realize how important that is, but you have to sit in front of a bank and you have to justify your existence. And like it or not, they're almost your board at that point in time, because if they either say yay or nay, they're going to give you money or they're not going to give you money. And then you realize, do you have a good business plan? Do you have a model? So whether or not you treat a bank as obviously your board or whatever, it is a litmus test to figure out if you have a long-term capacity to succeed.
So it was a good process.
It was a very good process. And then after that, we have always done a business plan every year. And I think that you don't always hit every goal you put in a plan, but you're going to hit probably 80 to 85%.
Yeah.
Plan the work the plan.
That's
it.
100%
That's exactly
correct.
right.
Yep. Because things change, and especially in the technology space.
Right.
It shifts dramatically on a regular basis, and you got to be motivated.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Just talking about different plans, it reminds me of we would always have a bank plan.
Yeah.
And then we would have our plan.
The real plan.
The real
right.
plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was, and the real plan is like, this is what we're getting comped on.
Yep.
And it's aggressive.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's hard. Here's the bank plan. If we don't hit that, we're all unemployed.
Yeah.
Right?
That's your conservative one.
That's a conservative
That's the one
plan.
that you could lose your house on.
That's exactly right. This is the plan we got to hit. This is the plan we're going to freaking work hard to hit.
Yep.
Right here. Yeah, that's interesting. So you guys kept growing from there, obviously. How did you think about culture and leadership and incenting your team and bringing people in? Is that at this stage? I mean, you were, I don't know how old at that time, probably in your 30s.
29.
So you know, really still young inside of building out an organization. What have you learned along the way in terms of that stuff?
You know, it's funny because I actually had a discussion with a gentleman right before we took off on vacation, and we talked about building your cap table. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a couple of things that colleges do well, and then there's a couple of things that I think that they fail at. And I think one of the things that they just don't understand, and maybe it's because professors have never done it, but what is an expectable amount to give up from a cap table standpoint for either future investors or key staff members to help you grow the company? And because you just get into it because you see an opportunity, you don't think, am I going to give up 10% for these individuals and another 10% for investors, or how does that work out?
Right. And
it was fascinating because the guy just wanted to talk to me for half an hour, and we talked for almost an hour. And afterwards he said, that was the best phone call I've had literally this year, just to conceptually understand this. So you talked about incentives. Obviously, one of the incentives we put together what was a phantom stock program at the point in time, which we thought was kind of revolutionary. Now, I don't know if it is or not. I'm not quite sure where that is. But we put together that type of program so that people could get an incentive to work with us. The other thing that we always understood is that people had to have incentive to produce, whether it was sales or whether it was the implementation team. So and it's fascinating because when I think back into the founding days, you know, you can get caught up in the emotions about I like that person, therefore they're a high producer.
Yeah.
Or you can actually look at the results.
Right.
And I still remember that there was a guy on the implementation team, the other people were kind of beating up on him. And when I ran the numbers, he produced, if I remember the number correctly, 27% more revenue for us than the other guys. And when I did that, I sat down and I said, if we could just do us a favor, and instead of being or irrational about how we look at people and being emotional about it, if we can look at it facts and say, who is producing?
Right.
Who are the actual producers for the organization? And after that, we started giving incentives for the implementation team. We made a mistake. We started comping people based upon revenue.
Yeah.
So this one guy sold a deal with Verizon Wireless in their trustees department, and they only sold it for $18,000 worth of services. It really was about $180,000 in services.
Jeez.
But because we comped on the top line, he made more than we made.
Right.
So all of a sudden, then after that, we decided, well, okay, we have to do things on margin.
Yeah, margin, right?
Right, exactly. So it was a funny thing that we kind of backed into all these decisions, but we always had the right idea. We always wanted to make sure that people were, number one, incentivized for what they produced on a regular basis, and then number two, that we always wanted them to be a part of whatever the growth factor was.
Yeah. It's interesting that when you ask about culture, your answer is immediately to performance and variable rewards. And I never thought much about culture for customer effective But I know one of the things that made us successful and it defined culture was participation in a high variable.
Yeah.
We incentivized consultants
Yep.
based on utilization.
Yep.
The more utilized they were, the more they made. Developers, same thing. Initially, they hated it, and then they bought into it, and they started building their own little gizmo software tools to be able to measure. If I do this, I get to make this,
Yeah.
and they loved it.
Yeah.
But that was our culture: was participate in the growth and the upside and be part of that.
You nailed it, Scott.
Yeah.
You got to have that, right?
You got to have that. I think a lot of people miss that in early days, where it's, if I can just hire this guy for X, then I can afford him or her, and I don't have to think about it. It's 5% a year increase from here on out.
Yeah.
You'll never get everything out of that person
No.
if you hired them for a little lower and gave them a 25% variable upside. Now you're getting 50% more out of that person, and they're more engaged. They're more participant
Because they're on the same page as you,
on the same page. Right?
and that's important.
I always used to think like I want to be able to hire the people I can't afford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I want superstars. I want really high producers
Right.
that are going to care about the company. They're going to help build this thing. I'm going to have to stretch to pay them a little bit more. I'm going to stretch to pay them a little bit more because I want the best
Absolutely.
people on the team. Period. Yeah.
Well,
Whatever
and
it
the
takes.
participation in equity is particularly tough because in the early days, phantom options or whatever it may be, option plan, even if it's a fully developed option plan, it's a vision of the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
And certain people are going to buy into that participation in the vision. How did you sell that vision? Because I'm curious what you were portraying and trying to do to win over people that were maybe beyond where you thought you might be able to get them.
I haven't thought about that in 30 years.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm going to have to ponder that for a bit. I think we were so enthusiastic about the opportunity to grow
Yeah.
that we were able to talk to people in a different way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think if you go back that far, I remember being at an event where there was a guy who won the Partner of the Year, and he was walking around bragging about he got a Porsche or something like that,
Yeah.
and I know he got a speedboat to go around in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there thinking, well, we just hired, like you were saying, Shay, we just hired this really smart programmer. I'm going to kick your tail in 2 years. I remember literally looking at him and going, I'm going to kick your tail in 2 years. Because while you're out there buying your boats, your cars, and you think you've made it, I'm buying really smart people, and I'm going to own the marketplace.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to. That's your mentality for those people.
Your competitive nature, though, as a seller, right? As
Yeah.
you come to a situation as a seller and as a marketing person, you have that ability to infuse other people with that
Yeah.
competitive spirit and things like when you're a reseller model. In the early days, you guys were similar to our model, right? You're
Very much
selling a
so.
product from someone else, and you're adding margin, and you're selling a boatload of services. Maybe 5x services to product. You have this competitive structure of winning Partner of the Year.
Yeah.
Same for us.
Yep.
We were so focused on making sure that we got our accolades from Microsoft at the end of the year. So for founder entrepreneurs who have a strong selling background, I think the model of finding a product from someone else, and this is particularly true in today's AI world,
Without question.
a product from someone else who may be a superior technological backed company, maybe even another founder who's got a brilliant product, but you've got good sales and marketing skills.
Yep.
Go get deals.
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
You nailed
Go
it.
get deals. And then you figure out all the stuff you need to deliver
Turn
on
into a
that.
business.
Because then you get revenue.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a model for
Yep.
building a company.
I
I'm shocked
100%
that more
support it.
people don't do it, and leverage it in ways that like you have.
And you.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you did the same
Lucky
thing.
duck, right?
Yeah.
Stumble into it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how we did.
Yeah.
But when you talk about culture and you think about the core, I go back to a meeting. We had 4 counts. We had one that was going well, which is basically UPS's human resource project, and 3 that were not. And we had a company meeting, and I don't want to swear on your podcast, but I said, come hell or high water, from this day forward, every customer is going to be a reference.
Yeah.
And I think fundamentally that changed the whole perspective, because then everyone understood that it was never okay to let
Failure
a customer
doesn't work, right?
We burnt the boat.
Option.
We burnt the boats.
Yeah.
So basically, from this day forth, we're going to take care of every customer out there because we need good references to grow this thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now we have about 740, 750 customers across the world.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
But I think it's the mentality that starts that.
Yeah.
Leighton Cubbage, he was my first boss.
You didn't say Leighton.
Leighton. Yeah. He was my first boss, and he used to always, in the Friday morning meetings, he just kiss him till the lips bleed, kiss him till the lips bleed. And he was adamant about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the one thing with him, handwritten thank you notes,
Oh, I love it.
personal, the phone calls, talking to him. But he's like, that is our lifeblood, period. We have to have referenceable accounts and channel partners that love us. And if we do that, we are going to win.
I love the fact that you stuttered on referenceable, because people used to joke that it's not a word.
Not a word.
Yeah.
I had to think through that one.
Like in a daily.
It is in my world. Yeah,
Referenceable.
When you stuttered, I thought, oh, wow, I'm not the only one.
Does it have an E and A? Is it hyphenated?
That's right.
Yeah, I've written
It's
it
an
so many
ABLE.
times.
I've had so many people go, that's not a word.
It's not a word.
It works, though.
It does. Absolutely.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Did you, so through that process and doing the phantom stock, you use your personal sales skills the way you would sell a customer, the way you would sell new employees?
I think you have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you have to. I mean, the problem in today's world is this stuff is now controlled more even within a company. So you brought up stock option programs, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't go to an attorney and do it right, the problem that you have is you have attorneys telling you that you can't exaggerate what you can produce on the stock option program. So you're trying to encourage people, but you can't really tell them what you.
We're going to the moon.
Yeah, you can't say that. You cannot say that.
Yeah.
And I think that fundamentally it's not the American way.
Yeah.
I think the American way is to say, guys, we're going to go kill it. We're going to smoke it. And, sue my ass. But the problem is the problem is you got an attorney back there saying you can't say that. Right. You can't say what you think it's worth. You can't say where we're going to go. And I think that's we need to take the gloves off and get back to America. We're going to go kick some tail.
Yeah, look,
and that mentality.
I did. I mean, I put out a 10-year plan, and we had no idea what 10 years was going to look like.
Of course not.
Yeah.
No
It was
way.
double, right? I mean,
Piece
look
of
at
cake.
that. And I know to this day that one of the first 5 employees that I still do business with today was beyond my reach from a dollar standpoint, and beyond my reach, and he ended up being an equity participant as well. But the vision, he told me later, is like, I wanted to work for you and Michael because you gave me a 10-year plan. I'm like, these guys are thinking ahead. There's a vision of where this is going to go. I was like, I know those numbers didn't come true.
Right.
Because we didn't double, double,
But you at least set the vision that everyone bought into.
That's right.
And that's important.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think everybody who's starting out, if you don't have a vision, you're not going to get good people.
Yeah.
It will not happen.
Yeah.
And then share with the people. I think that the open communication with the entire team through team meetings and everything else is so crucial. Like the transparency, the good, the bad, just like you said. We've got 4 customers. We got 3 that we're struggling with. And by God, they're all 4 going to give us a good reference next year.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's really important, especially when you're starting.
Yeah.
But you talked about transparency. I think that there's a lot of times when you have to get up in front of the group and you have to give bad news. And I think that sometimes those are probably where you build the most trust more than anything. Yeah. When you have to stand up there and say, hey, guys, we're going through 2008, the crisis that we all joked about.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're going to have our first layoff.
Yeah.
And that I think that in general, and it's funny because it wasn't until they had a going away party for me. That one of the people I talked about how 2008 was just brutal, 2008, 2009. I didn't get paid for 9 months and that type of thing. And I said it was probably the toughest time. And one of the people walked up and said, Jim, just so you know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that, because I was the one who came as soon as you started rehiring. So, you tend to go through things from your perspective, but what you don't do sometimes is you don't sit there and think about other people in the companies and how they came into the company and how they look at those
What their
situations.
history is.
Yeah, you're looking at it like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing I've ever been through.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they look at it like that was the greatest thing ever because I found a home.
Yeah. Somebody I can trust, I can believe in.
Right.
What happened in 08, 09 that was so, detrimental to the business? Were you guys levered to financial industries at that point?
We were. I mean, there was really two things. We basically built a new building, and then we bought out a partner. And the one thing I would encourage everybody is, and this is another thing they don't teach you in school, and that's true valuations. Like there is no class that I'm aware of that teaches you what a valuation of an organization is. Now we're older, we're more sophisticated, but when we bought out that partner, we basically really had no idea what it was worth. We had this huge organization in Wisconsin that wanted to buy us, and they threw out a number, but that wasn't a real number. I'm well aware of that. And they wanted me to move to Wisconsin. Well, I'm not moving to Wisconsin. It's too stinking. If you have permanofrost, I don't want to live there.
It's too cold.
I want to visit.
It's too cold.
If hockey is a sport in your state, I'm not going. So if you look at it, we used that number to buy them out, and that over leveraged us. And then the only crux that really killed us is gap financing. So people, when you talk about compliance issues and you talk about how government regulates in a positive or a negative way, I think what you don't understand unless you've actually had to run a company is how government influences and dictates your success or failure. Yeah. And I think that understanding accounting principles is a core class that you should have to take before you can ever run a company.
No doubt.
Because if you don't, especially if it's a software company, because now all of a sudden we went from what was understandable, but obviously when we reversed our numbers in 08, we went from a positive earning company to basically losing money. Mm-hmm. And for 24 hours, I was completely upset about it. And then I realized that we created a Donald Trump loss carry forward. Yeah. And we were able to earn then a tremendous amount of money without ever paying taxes, which we know people. I mean, Bezos built his entire Amazon company off of this principle, right? So if you look at those concepts that you learn, they don't teach you that stuff in school. No. And now what we're experiencing with software is 606. Mm-hmm. So the government gets involved. They basically create gap financing, now 606 financing, because they think Quicken is making too much money on their $29.95 a month, whatever it is, but then they're trying to apply it to an enterprise $1 million deal. Mm-hmm. You can't accelerate revenue that you've never invoiced, and the government forces you to do it to collect tax revenue. So they are negatively affecting this. But if you are a founder and you don't understand the principles I just walked through, there is no possible way you can even know when you sign a subordination agreement or you sign a debt agreement to any entity, whether or not it's Foundersville or any entity that's out there, you have no idea what those covenants are going to actually look like and how they play out long term. Yeah. And unless you understand covenants and you understand the concept of covenants and the positives and the negatives, and as you said, Shay, you got to work to that. That's your bank number. Mm-hmm. Your bank number is really your covenants number. And if you can't hit that covenants number, the probability of you losing control of the company, the probability of you not being able to sleep, it happens. That is the stress level, and there's flashbacks. Exactly. And there's no class on covenants in school that I'm aware of or how to measure these things. And I would say that every founder, before you even take out your home equity loan, you better understand what the covenants are for those things before you move forward.
Yeah, I mean, accounting in general, I think we see so many deals where it's still cash accounting. And they just haven't moved to accrual, much less even contemplating GAAP or what that is or how it would actually impact the business, and also thinking through tax ramifications. I mean, it's just all those little things at the beginning stages. They're big decisions, but if you go in completely uneducated, the chance of making the right decision is pretty slim.
It's almost none.
Yeah. So there's too many moving parts. So we find ourselves in many cases – I don't want to say cleaning up, but it's sort of what it feels like. We've got to clean things up to get it right.
As an early days founder, the array of things that you need to know a lot about is bewildering, right?
It is.
I mean, I did accounting classes in school.
Sure.
I did accounting advanced classes for an MBA. I went through public company as an officer. Yeah. Got indoctrinated into even more accounting. You know when it really stuck home when I was running my own company.
That's right.
Because I had to sit with the P&L and understand it in detail and to know cash flow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? It's like, I got to understand if we can make payroll.
Yeah.
And that's when you really start grinding in on it. So, it is a building process of learning all of that. And I think, for founders, it's a recognition that, yes, you can hire an accounting firm, but you got to know that. You need to, part of what you pay them for is to teach you to understand it in more depth.
Yeah.
Same with development. I mean, how much you know about development now
Zero.
from the point that you still zero.
Still learning.
Still the COBOL programmer I've always been. Yeah.
When you start building software, you don't know very much.
No.
Until you screw it up a few times, you hire a few smart people, and you learn more. You learn from your customers,
right?
But at the end, you better know a lot about building software and delivering projects on time, on budget.
You have to. You have to. Or hopefully
where did you pick up? You mentioned COBOL. That was your early days.
Oh, no, Fortran actually.
Fortran. Yeah. Watt 5.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You had some understanding in the early days that you could apply what you were doing into technology.
Oh, without question.
I'm always curious in that early days of thinking about it. You mentioned laying there and telling a guy to pound sand that you were done with the company. You got your kid on on your chest. I remember moments like that. What made you want to do this on your own anyway? Whether it was the marketing firm or starting this.
There was a individual who sat down with me when I was in high school and basically explained that he ran his own company. And I just sat there and I was mesmerized because if you look at my family's background, my parents, my maternal grandparents basically worked at a bakery. So it sounds kind of funny, but they never struggled during the Depression because they both had jobs, right? Because everybody still needed bread, right? So very conservative background. My dad worked for Ford New Holland Farm Machinery. He was in charge of IS. So I never really had an entrepreneur figure. And just one night he just sat down and he said, this is what, I do. Now, he didn't really articulate it well, but he articulated it enough that I understood that he was in charge of his own destiny and that he could do what he needed to do to pivot if there was a change in the marketplace. Right. And that is all I kind of needed to know. And then when I went to college, I really wanted to be the Philly Fanatic mascot. Yeah. But how tall are you, Shay?
5'6".
So Dave Raymond was the guy who designed the Philly Fanatic, and the woman who designed the Philly Fanatic is the woman who designed Miss Piggy. Well, Dave is 5'8", so the uniform didn't fit me. So I had to come up with a backup plan. So this whole
too big for the uniform.
So I got nixed by Miss Piggy.
That's
Think about
funny.
it. Yeah, that's my true story. Yeah. So this whole working is kind of a backup plan. Yeah.
It's turned out okay.
It worked out all right.
Now we know what to get you for Christmas.
Yeah. That's so every time I see the Philly Fanatic, the story comes out.
That's hilarious. But Keymark's been an overnight success over 3 decades.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean, people say things happen like immediately, and I totally disagree with that.
It takes forever.
This concept of you get out, you work your tail off 14-hour days or 16-hour. I'm not a huge fan of that method. I just don't believe in it. In fact, I just mentioned to the guy who took my seat, what are you doing to make sure you're getting your exercise? What are you doing to eat right? What are you doing to keep yourself mentally stable? And for every startup person, do yourself a favor, and there is one thing you will not negotiate. If you start negotiating your health, your workout routine, basically you're done because that means you're going to burn out. That means you're going to get addicted to caffeine. You're going to get addicted to the things that basically really make you burn out. Yeah. And I hate to say it, but then you become grumpy. Then you're not a motivational.
Mental health goes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
as soon as your physical health goes, your mental health goes.
Right.
So never, ever, ever, ever give up on that ability to get a workout in every day.
I'm 100% with you on that. Mental sanity. People like to talk about, you got to address the mental health and whatever it may be. I think that starts with discipline of the harmony and balance you build into your day-to-day. That does not include 16-hour work days.
No.
You might occasionally have a 24-hour work day where you've got to do a certain thing or make it from here to L.A. for a blah, blah, blah and back or something like that. But your day-to-day model has to look like balance and harmony.
Yep.
Because you're a pro athlete.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, and your mind is the only thing that really, that drives you forward. So I'm glad to hear you say that because over 30 years, you learn that it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And appreciating we hear a lot in the early days. Well, we're going to exit this in 5 years.
Yeah, that's
5 years.
Yeah, look, don't know. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not. And if you
how long did you run Customer Effective?
11 years.
There you go.
Yeah. And that was a quick turn.
Right.
I think that mentality is, and we've seen it with many people that we've had on the podcast. Capers comes to mind.
Yeah,
It used to be, 20, 25 years.
Right.
Strap it on, man.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful, strap it on for the long haul.
That's it. No,
It
there's
is
no
not
doubt
overnight. And when we hear that, when we hear 5-year exit, it's like,
Yeah. You almost laugh.
yeah.
No,
I mean,
for
it's-
real,
it's
because it's not practical.
not practical. Yeah.
They read it in TechCrunch. They read about whatever company of the week
Right.
gets acquired after 18 months. Cursor or whatever, Windsurf,
Yeah.
and they think that's real. It's
Yeah.
like that's not real.
It's like a lottery ticket.
It's a lottery
right?
ticket.
It's 0.0001%.
It's a lottery ticket.
That makes some headlines. But the grind is, if you want to generate wealth, long-term, sustainable wealth, it's a building process of
Compounds.
25 to 30, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple stories about that one in some public companies. Yeah, I told a CEO of UiPath. You guys probably
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they were the darling of,
Oh, absolutely.
and they blew up their channel. And as soon as I heard that, I got a little bit animated, and I reached out to our main contact. He was the chief marketing officer, and I told him, "You guys are making a huge mistake," and I explained why. Well, he got me a meeting in front of the co-CEO up in New York, and you can imagine how that,
Yeah.
So sitting down with the guy, and I looked at him and I said, "Your current valuation's over $30 billion. I'd short your stock."
Wow.
Yeah.
You'd have been right.
I did. Yeah, I was right. So I said, "I think you'll be less than $10 billion in 2 years."
Yeah.
And
Jeez, you got his attention.
the guy, no, actually, his
Probably
ego was
not.
too big.
Yeah,
Really?
It was too
The
big.
the chief marketing officer looked at me like this. So a couple years later, we were having a discussion, and he literally said, "You were wrong, Jim." And I said, "Well, it was
5.
he said it was 18 months. He said it was 18 months, and we went down to 6.
18 months, we dropped by 80%.
Yeah,
that's a little
but I
humbling,
mean,
right?
but it's the concept of how you work with others that they missed, right? And
right.
because you talk about, if you're trying to do something on the short and you're not letting others ride your wave, and you want to keep all the money yourself, the end result is that you don't get anything.
You lose the channel.
You lose it, right? And then all of a sudden you lose that momentum that literally would have carried you to stardom to 50, I don't know, 100.
Who
probably.
knows?
Who knows where they would have went?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pumped full of the "you can't go wrong"
Yeah,
Kool-Aid.
right.
Got
And
all
then
the
they hired
answers.
somebody from SAP who I would argue that you should never hire from one of those
Super
companies.
big
Right.
company.
Right.
Right.
I just don't think it's the right mentality.
It's never worked for
agree.
us. I mean, in the times we've tried, we brought in senior engineering talent from Bank America, or just name the big company, Cisco.
Yeah.
It does not work.
Big Co shift
Big
down
Co-
never
it
works.
doesn't work. It
Never
just
works.
Have
It
you
doesn't
ever
work.
seen it work? Or I have not.
I've never
No.
seen it work.
No.
No.
I mean, we got to the point where it's like we're promoting from within. We're hiring out of Greenville Tech, technical colleges for the earliest stage.
Tri-County. I just want to give a pitch
Right,
there.
Tri-County
Tri-County,
Tech, Tri-County is where it's at, and grow that way. But no, anytime we brought some senior in, and I had to learn that lesson a number of times.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, building for you guys. Where did you build your team? What were your hunting grounds for finding great talent as you
Clemson.
guys grew? Clemson.
yeah.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Yeah, always.
Got the Bulldogs
Yeah.
on.
It's all right. It's
Go
all
Bulldogs.
good.
It's all good. I mean,
It's all good.
That's a cult down there.
It is. It is.
We got a little orange cult going on too.
I'd
for sure.
say so.
Yeah, I mean, we basically we put our feet in the water and we just started hiring out of Clemson as much as we could. We also got a couple people from other areas. We found really, really good support people when SWU had their own computer science. They got rid of it.
Yeah.
And I tried to talk them out of it, but they were like, we lose it.
DataWorks has got a bunch of SWU grads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Southern Wesleyan. Yeah.
Yeah,
No
Southern
kidding.
Wesleyan.
Yeah, Southern Wesleyan.
They had
good program.
They had a professor over there that I thought was doing a nice job. Now, was he doing a job to make the best programmers in the world? I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I would argue that he was making really good people.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about just having a computer understanding and having the ability to articulate with people so that they know you care.
Right.
And that's what that guy did better than anybody.
Wow, that's
and
cool.
It's a shame that they disbanded that program. I get it. They're gonna struggle, but I understand why they did it.
We've found success with Bob Jones.
Yeah, there's another
developers,
place.
right? I mean, there's so for founders and entrepreneurs that are out there trying to build their team, and how often we hear, I just can't get good people.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find qualified people. What were your secrets in looking for talent that maybe was overlooked? And I'd say Southern Wesleyan is one of those, right? Is that's not on everybody's radar. They don't have. There's not big codes hunting there for developers.
Same with Bob
No, not at
Jones.
Thinking about finding people that are maybe finding developers and technical talents maybe overlooked, where you can get them at, I won't say below market rate, but maybe you can afford them, right? And they'll come onto a smaller team in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think that people, it goes back to almost the biased attitude that if you're always trying to build a team with the exact same people, you can never build a great team.
Yeah.
Because, and I always use the analogy, look at the Lakers of the 80s, right?
Right.
Everybody can tell you the 4 starters,
Yeah.
4 of the 5 starters. But Kurt Rambis was also on that team.
Oh, yeah, man.
Right? And everybody our age remembers
Yeah.
the white kid who worked his tail off and did all the dirty work, right?
Yep.
So I think that it's one of those magical things that if you just have an open mindset and you're not always looking for the exact same person, that you're just looking for a person who's phenomenal at communicating, great at doing their job, cares so much they're always going to do the right thing. If you just look for those characteristics, you're going to always find good people.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for your next frat brother,
Yeah.
you're going to fail.
Right.
You're going to fail. I mean, don't look for your friends, because if you look for your friends, you're going to fail. You got to look for those high quality people that are going to be there when you need them.
Yep.
Attitude, aptitude, humility, coachability.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
all of
The
the above.
basics,
Yeah.
right?
And obviously, I think that there's one thing that I kind of feel that we did really well, and that is that we understood that there are different degrees and how those different degrees can fit into different roles. So if you think about it, when I was on the board of computer science for Clemson, basically I went through 8 different presentations, and everybody was showing the exact same stuff. Okay, they were all doing Apple stuff. And finally, at the end of the day, I sat there and I said, I hate to tell you, but we all use Microsoft.
Yeah. It's the world. Right.
And I hate to tell you this, but basically, you're not going to like this, but we actually program to a process. We don't just code.
Yeah.
So how many industrial engineering classes do you have that you're teaching people? And they said 0. And I said, well, you better get some. So the VP of BMW agreed with me, and then there was a couple other people that basically said, Jim's 100% spot on. You got to have industrial engineering skill sets. And I think that if you're really looking
Even in your developers.
yes,
Absolutely.
correct. Yeah,
You
would
process understanding.
You would argue that that's the exact same thing,
Absolutely.
because if you look at what you guys were doing and what we were doing, you were coding to a process. You weren't just coding to solve a problem.
Right.
You were coding literally for a process, and I think that's an overlooked skill set. So industrial engineers, you're all probably out there going, oh my gosh, this guy's going to get us better jobs and everything. But the problem is that they send those people over to packaging school, right?
Right.
And my whole point is I think those skill sets go really well in business, especially when you look at what's happening now with artificial intelligence. Because now you can basically use a rules engine, which is what I was talking with your brother about, and basically AI. And if you can code to that process with a good, artificial intelligence acumen, I'll say, and then an industrial engineering process automation system, you can actually solve a lot of these applications quicker, cheaper, better, faster than anybody could before. And that's the future of where we're heading with this.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Clemson IEs.
Well, not only that, but in the software space, they turn out to be phenomenal solution architects, sales engineers. And if they have a good enough personality and want to be that, those are your best sales guys.
And that's who
Those
Marty
are-
hired, right? Marty
Marty
Osborne.
made
Yeah,
it.
Marty.
Voco.
Yeah.
Built
Where
at
he
Voco.
Yeah, he built Invoco on
industrial engineers. And another, kind of once you kind of get hot in a certain space and you found a model that works, right? It's like you find a couple that work, and it's like, okay, tell your friends, who's the guy you know,
Right?
Who was the B+ and A- students in your class that had good personalities?
Yeah.
Put me on them.
Yeah, the 3-0 guys are going to be your sales guys.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember
3-5 guys are going to be your project managers.
Yes.
Yeah, they brought me into I had to do a speech for the computer science guys, and there was a 4th-year class. And I literally sat there and I'm like, I can tell you exactly within range what your GPA is just by how you're acting. All you 4.0 guys are acting like whatever I say doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You 3.5 guys are kind of paying attention. You 3.0 guys are like, maybe.
Yeah.
You 2.0 guys are sitting right there and you're hearing every word I say.
Yeah.
And the room light up. And after that, they all listen. But you could tell by just their mannerisms where they were from their GPA.
I've always loved that adage of, the 4.0
That's
guys
funny.
end up working for the 2.5 guys.
That's exactly
Well,
right.
in my case, the 2.0 guys.
2.0,
Yeah.
yeah.
We share more background than we ever admitted.
Well, that makes
2.01.
that makes 3 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes 3 of us
really
then
funny.
because I barely got out.
Yep.
But that's okay.
Yeah, but so along that same line, like personality traits, and I would say I was probably never a great hire for anybody.
But you did a great job.
Data stream, maybe pretty good.
Yeah.
It was good leadership and learned a lot, but I had a lot of rope. And,
Sure.
I had a lot of latitude. But from a personality trait standpoint, it's I think much more important, those attributes and those characteristics of personality, than how someone scored on a test in college.
No doubt.
And yet, people are fascinated by that 20 years into someone's career, right? What did you look at? What was the thing that you looked at when you're hiring new people? And I'm sorry if I'm just drilling this, but there's a lot there for, I think, guys that we're working with now in our portfolio on the challenges of building their team. What were those big things that you looked for early on as just I gotta have this superstar?
I would say that we were looking for people that would be willing and able to make sure that they did the effort to make sure every customer was successful. And that meant that they could not only code, but they could talk to a customer to solve their problem.
Yeah.
And we have a couple people, for example, that their personalities, you're not going to probably realize that they can communicate to a customer. But as soon as they're in front of the customer, they light up. Mm-hmm. But they might be grumpy, moody, even after 7 cups of coffee. But yet they could still glow in front of the customer. Mm-hmm. And as long as we understood that their ability to communicate with the customer was there, we felt like we could make huge successes with them.
That's great. Communication.
It's the soft skills.
Soft skill.
It's funny. The first time I heard that term, I was a member of this group over in Pickens County, and they were talking about soft skills. And finally, after like an hour of this stuff, I said, "You guys are serious about this, aren't you?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was caught off guard because I assumed everybody had it. And what I didn't realize is that this is something that's not taught.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come innately to a lot of people.
Right.
They struggle with it. And now that I'm on the board over at Tri-County, technically, that I hear this more and more that the soft skills, and especially because of phones and COVID, it's just died. And anything that we can do to encourage, especially the next generation, to put their phones away. We just went up on vacation to Svalbard, and I was really proud. My daughter and her new husband basically turned off their phones for a whole week.
Dang, that's nice.
Like they did not have any internet access for an entire 7 days.
That's a winner.
So I realized that maybe by traveling to these remote locations, where I got the point across to my kids that your personality matters more than your computer or your phone.
Yeah.
And I think that anything that we can do as parents, as adults, as mentors, whatever we want to call it, to encourage people to get rid of these phones, to get rid of the computers for a little bit and go back to core eye-to-eye contact, communicating with people on a regular basis. I think it's important for us to.
I think that I 100% agree with you. And I try to instill it with my kids is, if you're at dinner with a group, look around. If everybody's on their phone, that's not much of a dinner.
No.
Yeah.
Put your phone down. Don't be that person that starts the – because,
That's right.
when they flip out, one comes out and it's like a virus.
Yeah.
They all go
Yeah.
out. It's like, keep that phone away. Don't even put it on the table. Just communicate. And that, right? I
Right.
mean, you're very good at that. I always noticed that your eye contact's great. Communication skills are great,
Even in a mascot uniform, I could do it.
I don't know. I can't get past those beady Philly
those
Flyers
funny eyes.
I could even do it then.
I love it. Jim, this has been great, man.
I have one more thing that I wanted to add,
please.
if you don't mind. I forgot. I just wanted to give an example. You know Dan.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So
Christy, yeah.
we still work a lot with him.
Yeah.
And basically, I just had a meeting with him yesterday, and we're looking at an organization to acquire. And I made the point about understanding numbers. So this company has been in business for a while. I'm trying not to give details. But they kept thinking that they were making all this money. And when Dan did his work and basically used what we consider to be current financial numbers, they end up basically almost breaking even.
Wow.
So, here's an organization thinking they're banking money, and then all of a sudden when you have a forensic accountant or somebody as sharp as a Dan come in and literally look at your numbers. And I think when you're starting up, when you're a founder, you keep thinking you're making money. Shay used the term cash, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people are missing the concept of really understanding, number one, what true accounting is. And true accounting is, generally speaking, not just sending out an invoice and collecting it.
Yep.
You have to understand the GAAP financials associated with this.
Yep.
And then the second thing that you need to understand, and I didn't understand this until 2008, is what true valuations look like.
Yeah.
Because the problem is everybody that you talk to, until you get your tail whipped multiple times because you didn't get the payout that you thought you deserved, you basically sit there and you think you're worth far more than you actually are.
Yeah.
And I think the more you can normalize, number one, the accounting principles with number two, the ability to understand what your net worth truly is from a holistic standpoint, the quicker that you can get to a real standpoint of making the good decisions about what stock option plans to have, how to invest, where to grow your organization.
Right.
And I know that those two fundamental things don't seem important to people that have been through it like us because we innately get it now. But as a founder, the quicker that you realize that, I promise you, the quicker your net worth is going to grow.
Yeah.
It's
I
a crucial point. You can't build a long-term incentive, stock appreciation rights or phantom stock or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. You can't build that correctly unless you intuitively know and see the numbers, what the value of the company is.
Exactly.
You've got to be realistic right now. Forget what you're telling the VCs you think the company's worth. It's really about what it's worth. If that's set wrong, it can set the employee back.
Right.
Not only do you not get the productivity gains you hope for, you can lose productivity. Heck, you can lose the employee altogether if it's done incorrectly. So it's a great point to drive home.
Well, I think delusion is one of the greatest skills that a startup founder can have.
Yeah.
And I have had plenty of it in my life. There is a point, in particularly where we're talking with young founders about what they have going, that there's really two camps. There are founders that are deluded by a vision of grandeur of what the thing is that they've done, and I don't care if it's $500,000 in revenue, $200K in recurring revenue, or $1 million in recurring revenue. If you don't understand the 5 or 6 key factors that actually impact your valuation, and I'm not talking about like just my fantasy valuation. It's the multiple, it's the growth rate, it's what the market comps are like. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that dose of reality and you're having internal, head trash talks with yourself that we all have.
Oh, yeah.
You have that talk about how you're going to raise $5 million on a $20 million valuation and you got $250K in recurring revenue. Yeah. You're not going to have success.
No.
And so the embrace of the suck, the embrace of the reality is one of those hard and fast things. Bo was on here, a couple of months ago, and talking about how angel investing can blow up that mindset, create all that head trash where people think they're worth way more.
Oh, just had this
then they have to raise on a much more reduced valuation that's more in line with reality.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're only 18 months out of the chute and you've raised, call it $300K.
Yeah.
And you've already blown it.
Yeah.
You've already painted yourself in a box. So, yeah, truth.
Yeah, I was in that angel investing group in Greenville, and the problem is I felt like everybody that stood up in front of us was lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't mean to be rude when I say that, but they didn't, and it wasn't a lie. It was more they just didn't understand.
Yeah.
We have $200,000 in revenue, but our valuation $6 million. Mm-hmm. It's like, do you have a patent?
Yeah.
No, we don't have
What
a
is
patent.
it?
Yeah.
What is it? Right.
What's your value?
Right.
And I think that the sooner you can realize and the importance of whatever your industry is, your rev rec, and how it coincides with your valuation,
Yeah.
the quicker you can make good decisions about how to grow your organization successfully.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And I'd strongly recommend, if you really want to learn, I spent a vacation we were on the water. We were traveling basically from South Georgia Islands to Antarctica, which is, you don't go very fast.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that, across the Drake. And basically I picked up a book and I downloaded it. And it was all the minutes from Berkshire Hathaway's.
Oh, wow.
And if you really want to get some insight as to what arguably one of the best minds, when I say minds, I mean both Charlie as well, I include him too, about how they thought through valuations and how they looked at things.
Yeah.
I recommend you read that book. It's an easy read, but conceptually it gives you some ideas to how the big boys who are masters at this play the game.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Jim, congrats on all the success. And
We
thank you.
laid a great foundation for future opportunity.
Well, I love it. I love it. And thanks for being a Founderville investor. We appreciate it. We value it.
Yeah.
And now that you have more time on your hands, we're probably going to bother you a little bit more.
I'd love it.
Hopefully,
I want to help
you
people.
end up some of these discussions that we have and some of the founders that we have that need help as we build out this program over at Flywheel Co-working. And love to have you involved.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Good to see you too.
A lot of fun.
It's Founderville.vc podcast, and we are over and out.